doing here is, seems a little strange. We've got a unique current situation here. Using the balance flies about 6 feet down. We're in 7 or 8 feet of water. I want to be a couple feet off the bottom. The bottom's irregular because it's a weedy bottom. And I'm using bigger flies, balance leeches, balance minnows, those kind of things. And I feel a fish will, oh, fish on. I feel that a fish will move more for a bigger food item. And this unique current is actually, although the wind's behind us, we got the anchors trailing back, good purchase, and keeps the fish away from the anchor ropes. Long rod, steer that around. Just keep that away from the anchor ropes. Try and bring the fish around to the downwind side here where it's clear of clutter and I can land the fish. But this current is actually moving the flies upwind. There's an undertow of sorts that's moving the flies up. So we're just making our casts, and I'm doing little mends, little flicks of the rod, just to always keep tight to the fly. And the fish seem to be relating to the current that's coming out between this gap between the two islands. Nice little rainbow's got that balanced bruised leech right in his face. Wow. What a beautiful fish. These Parkland rainbows are feisty, plump, well-fed, and balanced flies, spring, summer, and fall. So I'm just gonna grab this fly and have a fish rather and have a look. Look at that beautiful fish, fat, plump, healthy. Let's let him go and come back next year, stay at the Russell Inn, and catch him when he's bigger. Balanced flies, excellent presentation option when you fly fishing lakes. So just what's so special about balanced flies, such as my bruised leech? At a first glance, they look like any other beadhead pattern. But the trick to this fly is in the hook itself. It's the chassis underneath the fly that matters. You start with either 60 or 90-degree jig hooks. You could certainly tie on a down eye hook, but you run the risk of burying the hook eye within the body of the fly. The 60 or 90-degree hooks allow you to have the hook eye sticking up above your body, and you can simply tie your fly on. In the hook manufacturer I like to use, the 90-degree jig hooks only come down to a number 8. So I use the 90 degrees for size 8 and larger. I use the 60-degree jig hooks for size 10 and smaller. So once you've got the hooks all figured out, the next step in this process is the extension itself. And that's simply made up of a common straight pin, cut to length, or these smaller length sequin pins. Onto these, I slide on a tungsten bead, 7/64, 1/8, whatever colors you'd like. This combination lashed onto the hook out in front of the hook eye tips or balances the fly because it offsets or equals mass of the bend, okay? So how does this look in the end? Well, once you've got these lashed on, you would build a bunch of these chassis. Here's one on a 60-degree bend. Here's one on a 90. The pin is here, the tungsten bead pushed out in front and secured in place, lashed onto the shank. Usually about 2 bead widths out in front of the eye is a good starting point. You can do test balances by hanging a piece of wire or monofilament through the eye to make sure it's balanced, and away you go. And again, this extension offsets the mass of the bend here. And that's quite simply it. That is the magic to balance flies, an absolutely deadly pattern style, and you want to make sure you have a good representation within your stillwater fly box. Nice jump. So we're about 6 feet down, we're about 8 feet of water. Usually I like to set the flies because we're over a weedy bottom, about 2 feet deeper, 2 feet higher than the water is deep on the sounder. Oh, nice jump, nice jump. And we've got your leader set up. Needs to be the thin diameter tippet between the indicator and flies to get that straight down sink. This one looks like he's ready to come in. And these balanced flies under indicators is just a deadly method, particularly in the shallows here. You can control your depth and your retrieve speed, two of the most critical elements in stillwater fly fishing, depth and retrieve speed, because you can let it sit, you can slowly hand twist it back, you can drift it like I'm doing here. We've got just enough chop that animates the fly. Nice little rainbow here, nice Parklands rainbow. Oh, Good jumps. We've got our anchors trailing out of the way here. This one's behind the boat a bit, but got to follow it around. Use the long rod. Long rods are a real advantage in stillwater fishing, particularly with indicators. You get a longer set depth without having to adjust, and the ability to steer and control the fish around. Nice rainbow, nice Parklands rainbow. These fish here are just unbelievable. These lakes are so rich and productive, full of all the key food sources. So balanced flies, they're not just for lakes, they're great river patterns, and they're not just for trout. You can catch bass with balanced flies, walleye, carp, panfish, whatever you want to chase with the fly, balanced flies are the way to go. So make sure you always have a good selection in your fly box, no matter what you're chasing. What a beautiful rainbow. There we go. What a beautiful, beautiful fish. So balanced flies, make sure they're in your fly box. They work wonderfully.